will come up towards us. Vladimiris Choitsis in the #1 Academy Cafe machine will be one of the first drivers to take to the circuit, but hopefully we do have the highlights from earlier on this season. So still not available to us. Sorry about that. We will very shortly have the Euro NASCAR 2 qualifying session underway. Here we can see earlier on this season. So the season got underway at Circuit Ricardo Tormo, and you can see Loris Haseman's working his way up the inside, leading in towards turn 1, and did so with ease to take his first win of the weekend. Loris Haseman's delighted with that one. We then went over to the UK, over to Brands Hatch for the American Speedfest. Sorry, that was Martin Dubeck leading in towards turn 1. Then we saw a win from Advait Deodhar. And then once again we saw yet more action for the #7 machine. Martin Dubeck pitched in towards the final corner at Brands Hatch, and it left him on the grass, and it left the #50 machine of Tobias Dauenhauer to take the win at Brands Hatch. Absolutely delighted with that in victory lane. Arms held aloft. We then went over to Most, so a very unique circuit, differing weather conditions, lots and lots of rain. And you can see Martin Dubeck on an absolute mission up through the order, picking off Michael Bleekie-Molen. But the #50 machine there of Tobias Dauenhauer once again taking 2 lane. So a great weekend as it stood for Tobias. And once again, took to the front of the order, working his way forward. And we have Pierluigi Veronesi following in suit with Ariana Casali just sat behind. We saw contact from the pair of them. Both cars spinning through 360 degrees with heavy damage aboard them both. In towards the pit lane they went, in towards the gravel as well. But Tobias Dauenhauer took the win at Most, took to victory lane, and the #7 of Martin Dubeck finished in second place. You can see there the Euro NASCAR 2 Championship really getting closer and closer and closer. So that is as it stood. So far we've had 6 races from both championships and both series, this season. We are here for the 4th race meeting of the weekend, or the 4th race meeting of the 2021 season. We are here for races 7 and 8. We are now getting yet more qualifying underway. So this is the Euro NASCAR 2 qualifying. So some of the cars we have previously seen out in Euro NASCAR Pro taking to the circuit once again for Euro NASCAR 2 with a driver change, of course. Drivers to watch for this one, I would say Vladimiris Choitsis, definitely one of them in the #1 Academy Cafe machine. Tobias Dauenhauer as well. After looking through the highlights, you can see just how dominant he's been throughout the season. So keep an eye out for that #50 Hendricks Motorsport machine. The #48 of Yevgen Sokolovsky takes to the circuit once again. Of course, we saw him out in Euro NASCAR Pro. We will see him out in Euro NASCAR 2 as well. So a little bit more track knowledge for Yevgen Sokolovsky, so could potentially play in towards his hands. Simon Palat, the first driver to break the timing beam, of course not representative of a flying lap as of yet. That will just be drivers breaking the timing beam on their way through the pit lane and then heading out towards what will be their first flying lap of the session. So we will very shortly have yet more times being posted, very representative of course their race time. There goes the #90 of Advait Deodhar through the very quick right-hand kink towards the start-finish straight we go, and on towards what will be a flying lap following behind Martin Dubeck. So good little sparring partner there, a great driver to follow. Of course, we've seen great things from Martin Dubeck as the season kicked off. So the 2 drivers we saw in shot there, very, very quick drivers. Keep an eye out on the both. You can see Advait Deodhar using all of the circuits available to him. of course, as previously mentioned, you've got to carry every little piece of momentum you can in these cars, even more so here at Automotodrom Grobnik. And if you can use a bit more circuit as well, just to add a little bit of width and open the corners up, it should hopefully allow you to carry a few more mile an hour through the corners, which in turn will only lower that lap time. Through turns 9, 10 and 11, very tricky section of the circuit to get right. We are now seeing times being posted, a 1 minute 32 posted from Simon Palat, followed by Alberto Panebianco, a 1 minute 32.613, just under a quarter of a second away from our provisional pole time. Francesco Garisto with a 1 minute 33.479, so still time out there for him. Just waiting for some more representative times to be posted. In a few moments' time, we will see Martin Dubeck take his first flying lap and put it up on the board ahead of Advait Deodhar. So crossing the line now, do we see times being posted? Yes, we do. Advait Deodhar goes up to provisional P3, a 1 minute 33.074 posted from himself. Martin Dubeck sat there in provisional P4 as it stands, 1 minute 33.159. Massimiliano Lanza taking to the circuit in the background as well. So keep an eye out for that number 88 car racing machine. Of course, he shares that car with three-time champion Alan Day. Through the tail end of the circuit we go, looking to find any improvement we can, hoping to potentially pick up a little bit more time, of course, as the session wears away. We could see yet further improvements. There is Martin Dubeck. You can see the gap, 2.1 seconds to Simon Palat at the top of the times. 25 minutes, or the best part of 24 minutes of the session remaining, so plenty of time for drivers to find improvements. Simon Palat, 1 minute 31.042 is currently the fastest time, and we've seen Advait Deodhar improve upon his time, a 1 minute 31.733, 7 tenths away from what was provisional P1, but he has just been demoted down to provisional P3. Now it's 600ths of a second separating Simon Palat and Martin Dubeck. 1 minute 31.102 for Martin Dubeck, a 1 minute 31.042 for Simon Palat. So very, very close up at the head of affairs as it stands, and still with 23 minutes of the session remaining. So we could see that time only get closer. We've still got lots of drivers yet to take to the circuit. Pierluigi Veronesi with a 1 minute 32.202 for his first flying lap of the session. Tobias Dauenhauer still to take to the circuit, so too is Vladimiris Choitsis. Keep an eye on the pair of those two. I think we've seen an improvement for Advait Deodhar as well. Just got to keep an eye on that timing tower on the left-hand side of your screen to pick out who is improving. Simon Palat does improve, a 1 minute 30.584 posted by himself. Very quick lap time from our provisional pole sitter at the moment. He's got himself around about a half a second cushion now, so it's gone from 600ths of a second to 5/10ths of a second, so he's really built up that margin. Towards the line comes Martin Dubeck. Do we see an improvement from Martin? Breaking the timing beam in a few moments' time, a 1:31.102 to beat, a 1 minute 30.584 posted, so he does take time out of that provisional pole from Martin Dubeck, but 3/10ths of a second still to find if he wants to get towards the front end of the grid. We saw an improvement there from Yevgen Sokolovsky, a 1 minute 31.808 puts him in 5th place. All this being provisional, of course, still with plenty of time left in this session, so lots of drivers still out and circulating. Paolo Vieri posting his first lap time of the session, a 1 minute 34.808. just got to keep an eye out for drivers taking to the circuits. Of course, we've still got Tobias Dauenhauer and Vladimiris Choitsis to take to the circuit. There is the number 90 of Advait Deodhar. Through sector 1 we go. It looks like he's just on a slightly cooler lap, using all of the circuit, getting the car either cooled down or warmed up, ready for the next flying lap. That's one good thing about Grobnik, with it being rather windy and rather open circuit. You never really have any sort of overheating issues, so you can go and do a flying lap, have one cool down lap, and then go straight back onto it again. So there's no real pressure to get the car cooled down and then back within its operating window. We did see there the number 9 machine with a wheel missing, so not quite what we were expecting from Leonardo Colavita. I'm trying to figure out where that is. I think that's on the back straight, pulled over towards the right hand side with that front left wheel missing, so it will be localised yellows for the moment. I'm hoping it won't bring out the red flag, and I'm hoping that the wheel hasn't dispersed itself in a dangerous section of the circuit. So for Leonardo Colavita, not quite what we were expecting. We'll have to try and figure out exactly where that is. I'm pretty sure it's towards the back straight, and yes, the red flag is being waved by one of our circuit marshals. So with the car potentially being in a rather dangerous position, and hopefully the wheel has dispersed itself from the circuit, but if that is in a rather dangerous position, of course, safety has got to be the number 1 priority when it comes to motorsport. So very good call from our race director. I'm rather confused, I think there is the number 9 driver of Leonardo Colavita, and too right, I would be looking around thinking, well, where is my wheel gone? So over to the right hand side, yes, that is on the run up towards the final couple of corners on that back straight. That front left hand wheel out of shot. I'm not 100% sure where it's gone, so potentially missing from the circuit. Hopefully it has rolled its way in towards a gravel trap somewhere or towards a barrier, hopefully out of the way. But I'm sure our incredibly efficient circuit staff and marshals will be getting that car out of the way, allowing the qualifying session to go once again. The cameraman nearly getting run over there by Advait Deodhar. You can see all the drivers, as per instruction, returning to the pit lane. Does give the mechanics a few minutes just to get their cars back ready and hooked up for the qualifying session. You saw the number 1 there of Vladimiris Choitsis returning to the pit lane. Only the top 2 drivers have broken into that 1:30 barrier. Martin Dubeck, of course, with that 1:30.279 up at the head of affairs, ahead of Simon Palat with a 1:30.584. So the drivers just got to sit and wait patiently in their car, and for Leonardo Colavita, sit and wait patiently at the side of the circuit with a wheel missing. You can see the hub exposed there on his Chevrolet Camaro. So not quite what we were expecting from this qualifying session. And I'm sure the circuit staff will be heading over to make sure everything is within safe and working condition ahead of the resumption of the qualifying session, still with 20 minutes of the session remaining. So of course the time has been stopped, only 10 minutes of the session had been completed. There we can see that is Thomas Krasanas, just sat waiting patiently towards the tail end of the pit lane. So too is Vladimiris Choitsis. Expect improvements from Vladimiris, because of course he hasn't really seen yet further improvement. The only time he has posted is a 1:42.780, so some 12 seconds away, 12.5 seconds away from Martin Dubeck at the head of affairs. So somewhat of a banker lap posted for Vladimiros. Circuit marshals working very selflessly to get everything safely dispersed from the circuit. Few mechanics looking there under the bonnet of the number 8 machine, so Paolo Valeri attracting a little bit of attention from his team, just looking under the bonnet, making sure everything's in working order, getting ready to return to the circuit, talking his mechanic through some of the information he has gained from taking to the circuit in qualifying. Potentially a few setup changes to be made. You can see there that is Michael Bleekie-Molen being pushed back towards his pit box. And once again, we've just got to be patient and allow our circuit staff to do what they need to do to get the circuit back up towards green flag suitability. And I'm sure the race director will be looking into just how Leonardo Colavito's wheel has escaped his car. There is the wheel from Leonardo's car. Doesn't look like anything of note, really. You can see the rubber on it still looks rather warm. So it worked its way round the straight. I'm just thinking on the exit of turn 13, the wheel must have escaped the car's grasp, and as Leonardo pulled over towards the right-hand side, the wheel continued on down the straight and has just now been recovered from, well, by one of our marshals. So drivers still of note. Yevgen Sokolovsky, potentially see improvements from himself, still 1.5 seconds away from Martin Dubek. Vladimir Stoitzis, of course, we haven't really seen any solid lap times from Vladimir yet, so keep an eye out for him as soon as he returns to the circuit. And Tobias Dauenhauer, of course, in that number 50 machine. Keep an eye out for him as the session will very briefly be getting back underway. We can see the crowd slowly building up over the weekend. Up into the air goes Leonardo's Chevrolet Camaro, and then on towards the flatbed it will go. Return to the pit lane for the mechanics to figure out just why the wheel had vacated the car, and then hopefully we will have the qualifying session back underway. Potentially giving the teams a few more minutes just to get the car dialed in ready for the resumption of this qualifying session. Of course, the time was stopped as soon as the red flag was waved, so it does mean the drivers have still got 20 minutes of on-track time to improve upon their current time if they have posted one. I think Advait Deodhar somewhat out of position as well, currently sat down in provisional P11 with a 1 minute 32.421 posted by himself, so we could see an improvement from him. But Vladimir Stoitzis, all eyes on you, I believe, in that number 1 machine for Academy Cafe. As soon as he takes to the circuit, we'll have to make sure we've got a camera on him just to watch him through his first proper representative flying lap. We will be back under green flag conditions, and the qualifying session will resume in around about 2 minutes time. So brilliant work by our circuit staff, so thank you very much to the circuit staff and marshals for getting that car safely dispersed from the circuit, then making sure the circuit is still in working condition. So you can see there the number 27 of Pierluigi Veronesi heading towards the end of the pit lane, getting ready to return to the circuit. As soon as the green light is shown at the tail end of the pit lane, the drivers will be allowed to return to the circuit. I think we also saw Alina Leubnegger on their way towards the tail end of the pit lane, pardon me. And the green flag being waved, the green light shown, and drivers are now allowed to return to the circuit and get qualifying back underway here from Croatia. So drivers returning to the circuit, on-track action resumed, and qualifying gets back under full swing. just quite the wait now until we start to see drivers improving upon their lap time. Martin de Beck, of course, really got it all to lose at the head of affairs. A 1 minute 30.279, currently the provisional pole time. Simon Palat just 3/10 behind. But Vladimiris Choitzis, we've got to keep an eye on him in that number 1 machine. There is the number 8 of Paolo Valeri taking to the circuit, getting ready to hopefully improve upon his times. Now he's just finding that clean air, finding a bit of free real estate that you can use to work your way in towards hopefully an improvement. And of course, with everybody nose to tail leaving the pit lane, it makes it quite difficult to find some of that, some free circuit. You can see there Yevgen Sokolovsky just working his way past Michael Bleekemolen in towards a little bit of clean air, getting some breathing room, ready for what will be the first of the flying laps in this resumed qualifying session. So 18 minutes of Euro NASCAR 2 qualifying remains. Crossing the line now is the first of our cars to post times. There is the number 27 machine. That is Pierluigi Veronesi working his way through sector 1. You can see that car under load through the corner, so really pushing forward now, using all the curb on the exit of turn 3. In towards turn 4 we go for what is quite a deceptive turn 5. The camber works with you. Turn in too early, you'll wash wide. Turn in too late, and you'll just sit right up at the top of the camber. So you've got to almost take an early apex, then pitch the car back down, ready for the second apex, before you set the car up for what is a very difficult section. It's very quick left, right, and left, with elevation change and camber as well, before you get into what is another very quick left, right, and left once again. Camber works with you once again. Great camera angle that one. You can see just how the elevation changes throughout the corner. And it's a very quick right-hander. Up the hill you go, over the crest, and on towards that back straight, ahead of the very, very heavy braking zone at turn 14. Down the back straight you go. Wait for the nose of the car to dip. Now you can see that the car is really being worked there. So Pierluigi Veronesi looking to pick up an improvement in his Double V Racing Ford Mustang. Through the final couple of corners we go now, just the right kink to negotiate, and towards the line we go. So Pierluigi Veronesi, will we see an improvement from himself? Currently sat in provisional P9, cross the line, and I don't think we did that time through. A 138.290 posted, so no improvement from Pierre. Spit of flame from the exhaust, and back on towards what I think will be another flying lap for himself. Of course, like I say, with us being quite a windy open circuit, it does allow the cars to remain as cool as possible, so you can do a couple of back-to-back flying laps. We saw an improvement there from Vladimiris Choitzis. I just said we need to keep an eye on Vladimiris Choitzis, and in his first flying lap of the session, he puts it in provisional P3, only 4/10 away from Martin de Beck, a 1 minute 30.680 from the number 1 machine. So we are seeing very late improvements. Massimiliano Lanza improves as well behind the wheel of that number 88 machine. Currently in provisional P5, a 1 minute 31.750. Of course, that car shared with 3-time champion Alan Day at Carl Racing. Through the edges of sector 1 we go. There is the number 64 Speedhouse Ford Mustang. Eric Quintal behind the wheel. Around about halfway through the session now, so only 15 minutes of the session remaining. You could see there the number 54 Carl Racing machine very, very sideways on the exit of turn 12. He's just really waiting now for the drivers to find some clean air and then find the time that they can work into. So we saw an improvement last time through from Linz de Gilles in the number 77 DF1 Racing Chevrolet Camaro. In towards turn 1 we go once again. Currently looking at that number 1 machine, Vladimir Strojc is behind the wheel. Now our new pole sitter, a 1 minute 29.997 posted from Vladimir Strojc, 2.82 of a second clear as it stands, or sorry, 0.282 tenths of a second clear. So Vladimir Strojc, just as the red flag was waved, I say that is one of the drivers that hasn't set a time but has got a lot of potential to put it on the front row. And he's gone and put it on provisional pole position as Vladimir Strojc. So with that time being posted, another driver towards the top end of affairs. Tobias Dauenhauer still yet to take to the circuit, so we'll have to figure out quite why that is. In towards the hairpin of turn 14 we go once again. As late on the brakes as you can be, and Vladimir Strojc will be seeing improvement from the Academy Cafe Ford Mustang. Through the final couple of corners we go, run the car out wide and then cut back in for the right hand kink. Towards the timing beam we go, 1 minute 29.997 to beat for an improvement, and it was 1 minute 30.117 that time through, so around about a tenth slower. So still with time to find is Vladimir Strojc straight onto another flying lap, already on the tail end of the DF1 Racing Chevrolet Camaro. Got to wait for the time to continue to tick by. As the session wears away, we will see yet further improvement from the drivers out on circuit. Traffic becoming ever more of an issue. Of course, we saw it in the Euro NASCAR Pro qualifying. Euro NASCAR 2 throwing up somewhat of the same issue. Quite a wide circuit is Grobnik, but with there only really being one line, of course, Alan Day earlier on alluding to just only being about one line around Grobnik, whether it be in the wet, in the dry, or no matter what conditions you're in, there only seems to be one line. The braking points are very, very similar, the turning in points are very, very similar. You can use the curbs in the wet, so it's a very tricky circuit to get your head around, especially when you're trying to improve upon a qualifying time and you've got cars approaching either from behind or you are approaching them as well. There is the number 90 of Advait Deodhar, trying to get out of the way as best he can, at least through turn 10. Very tricky section of the circuit is the turn 9, 10 and 11 section. There is the number 50 machine of Tobias Dauenhauer, so he has taken to the circuit. So we should very shortly see times being posted by Tobias. Number 50 machine through the final corner we go now, and heading up towards the timing beam, on towards what will be his first representative time of the session. Crossing the line now, and I'm going to call maybe a mid 1 minute 30. So that should place him around about 3rd or 4th place. And then another improvement as the session goes on. So just under 11 minutes of the session remaining now. Still Vladimir Strojc on provisional P1 at the moment. 1 minute 29.997. Another driver that has ticked their way into the 1 minute 29 barrier. Exit of turn 5. Use all the curb you can. Open up the exit. Getting ready for turns 6, 7 and 8. A quick left, a quick right and then a quick left once again. Lots of elevation change. I'm hearing that the number 50 machine of Tobias Dauenhauer, who has now taken to the circuit, had a technical issue with the brakes, but they have now fixed that issue and have sent Tobias out on towards his qualifying session and allowing him to set a time rather late on. We have seen an improvement from one of our drivers. That is the number 56 machine of Advait Deodhar. A good lap from himself, puts him up into provisional P5, 1 minute 31.208, so only 100th of a second away from another position gain, but towards the line comes Tobias Dauenhauer. will we see him right the way up towards the top end of the order? We do see him in 6th place, so 1 minute 31.205, so I was around about 7/10 away with my prediction. But a good first lap from Tobias, especially with a car that's recently been fixed. Of course, you've got to build up that confidence within the car, and of course, while he was here yesterday in the practice sessions, if you have had an issue with your car, like I say, you've got to build up that confidence, build up the trust between yourself and the car, really get the performance out of it. That could have just been a quick banker lap from Tobias Deodhar. Now I get a lap up on the boards, and then go for a slightly more aggressive lap to really work away at that lap time. Roberto Panebianco with a 1 minute 31.186 up in provisional P4 now, so we're seeing improvements from our drivers rather late on in the session. Eric Quintal still somewhat off the pace, so keep an eye out for improvements later on. Justin Kuhn's improving upon his time, a 1 minute 31.056, so too is Advait Deodhar. So it's all go up at the top end of affairs. Tobias Deodhar has gone from provisional P6 right down to provisional P8. Yevgen Sokolovsky improving as well. So up into 9th goes Yevgen. Make that 12th now, because we're seeing yet further improvements, then back down to 9th. I think it could just be a few transponders flipping around. We have seen improvements from Pierluigi as well. So Pierluigi Veronesi, a slight improvement last time through, a 1 minute 31.805, still leaves him in 14th place. Melvin de Groot up into 10th place now as well, so we are seeing improvements across the board, very, very evenly between the field. Tobias Deodhar is now our pole sitter. While I was looking towards the mid-pack, everybody switched around, and that was why. Tobias Deodhar has improved, a 1 minute 29.830, so up to the top of the times goes Tobias. And when I said he's got to build up that confidence, he has definitely done that now, so he got that initial lap on the board, and Tobias Deodhar right up on provisional P1 now, a 1 minute 29.830. Vladimiras Joitsis currently sat there in 2nd place with a 1 minute 29.996. With Martin Dubek, 1 minute 30.060, the top 3 only separated by 2.5 tenths of a second, so it's really nothing in it. Then we get back to Simon Palat, 3/4 of a second away from Tobias Deodhar, and it all starts to fall away from there rather equally. But Tobias Deodhar was a brilliant lap for himself, having brake issues and then getting them fixed within the final 10 minutes of the session, taking to the circuit, getting a good lap in initially, putting him in provisional P6, and then on the next final lap, yet further improving, putting him rather safely up at the head of affairs, over 1.5 tenths clear of Vladimiras Joitsis just behind. Taking to the circuit is the number 46 machine of Miguel Gomez. That is for Marco Steve Motorsport. And then the recently reliveried number 55 machine of Fabrizio Armetta out there and circulating as well. If you are new to the series, there are 2 classes. There are Euro NASCAR Pro and Euro NASCAR 2, so more or less the Pro and Am categories. The Pro drivers get a slightly longer race than the Euro NASCAR 2 drivers. They both get 2 30-minute practice sessions on the Friday. They both get 2 30-minute qualifying sessions, obviously today on Saturday, but later on today, the Euro NASCAR Pro drivers will get an 18-lap or 75-kilometre race, and Euro NASCAR 2 will get a 15-lap or 65-kilometre race as well, the same as tomorrow as well. So it's very little to pick between them. All the cars are exactly the same. Some of the cars are shared between, or most of the cars I should say, are shared between Euro NASCAR Pro and Euro NASCAR 2, so they've all got the same piece of machinery underneath them. The only difference is, of course, visual, with it being the body shell either being a Chevrolet, a Toyota, or a Ford. The main protagonists have got to be really the Chevrolet and the Ford. You don't really see any Toyotas out in the NASCAR Wheel & Euro Series, but of course it would be great to see one. There is the number 7 machine of Martin Dubek, looking to work his way back on towards the front row of the grid. He's only missing out by around about 7/100ths of a second, so if you can find a little bit more time here at Grobnik, we should see potentially a positional improvement. Through the final couple of corners we go, through the double left-hander, very quickly in towards the right, and then the right-hand king again before we get towards the timing beam. 1 minute 30.060, his current best lap of the session. I think that could have potentially just been an outlap heading on towards what will be a flying lap. Justin Kuhn's improving with last time through a 1 minute 30.906 posted. That leaves him in 5th place as it stands. There is the number 7 of Martin Dubeck, now on towards a flying lap. The tail end stepping out a little bit on the run in towards turns 3 and 4. Now through turn 5 we go. Very long cambered left-hander. Use all of the circuit on the exit. This circuit does very much reward smooth driving. Of course, you can't really extract everything from these Euro NASCARs with smooth driving. You've got to almost manhandle them around just to get them pitched in towards the corner. You can steer them with the rear. Of course, you've got around about 400 brake horsepower underneath your right foot, so you can apply a little bit of throttle just to get the tail end of the car pitched in, which does mean you don't scrub the front tyres quite as much. So varying driving styles can reward you in different ways. Grobnik, with it being such a unique circuit, it's somewhat into the unknown really, and with the lines rarely differing between wet and dry conditions, it does almost throw a spanner in the works in regards to the calendar, and we could see a few drivers that we don't normally see up towards the top end of the order working their way. But Martin Dubeck crossing the line now at 1 minute 30.060 to beat, and he doesn't 1/10 of a second slower than his previous fastest lap time, but on towards what I believe is already another flying lap. You can see the tail end of the car switching around once again, all of the curb through turn 3, in towards turn 4 does the tail end of the car step out. Not so much this time, so very much controlled from the Hendricks Motorsport Ford Mustang. Still going through turn 5 now, all of the curb on the exit that you can get away with. A little bit of traffic does work its way out of the way. I think that could have potentially been the number 22 of Nicola Rocca. No, sorry, the number 55 of Fabrizio Armetta, sorry. Melvin de Groot currently sat there in provisional P10, just under 1.5 seconds away from our pole time. There is Nicola Rocca on that number 22 machine. Shared the car with Nicola Rocca, pardon me. That is Justin Kuhn's behind the wheel. Currently sat in provisional P1. All through the gravel goes the number 89 of Alberto Panebianco. That is on the exit of turn 2, so I think we saw Jacques Villeneuve fall foul of that in Euro NASCAR Pro qualifying. In towards the pit lane comes the number 56 of Advait Deodhar. And in towards the garage, I believe that car is going as well, so we won't see that car take to the circuit in the final stages of qualifying. Less than a minute to go now. So not too long before the drivers that have started a flying lap will have to get that lap done and completed before that time ticks to 0, and they will have no further attempts of improving upon their time. Tobias Dauenhauer still up at the head of affairs, 1 minute 29.830 ahead of Vladimir Ostroitzis, and Martin Dubeck 3rd place with Simon Blatt in 4th. Justin Kuhn, who we were riding on board with just a moment ago, currently sat there in 5th. Only 15 seconds of the session remaining now, so any driver heading towards the start-finish line will get another lap completed, and any driver currently on a flying lap, this will be their last one. You can see through the middle section of the circuit, drivers really pushing forward, hoping to improve upon their time. There was the number 27 of Pierluigi Veronesi. Here's Justin Kuhn's through the long left-hander of turn 14 in towards the next left of 15, managing the car through the final couple of corners towards the line. Do we see an improvement from Justin Kuhns? No, we don't. A 1 minute 30.906 posted. Time has ticked to 0, so nobody will be able to go on towards another flying lap. And I think that is Tobias Dauenhauer very, very happy with his qualifying performance. Vladimir Astroitsis didn't really have much in the way of a response to Tobias's take to the circuit. He did have a brake master cylinder leaking, but of course now they fixed that. He was able to take to the circuit and set a blistering lap time of 1 minute 29.830. Your pole time with Vladimir Astroitsis over a tenth and a half away from that number 50 machine. So as the session is just ticking around and everybody returns to the pit lane, I'm sure we will have results available to us once the timekeepers have got all their paperwork sorted. Checkered flag being waved as drivers take and complete their final lap of the session. Everybody cools down once again, and that is qualifying completed for this weekend. So Euro NASCAR Pro had their 30-minute qualifying. So did Euro NASCAR 2, of course, with the red flag in between for the slight issues we had. Leonardo Colavita had a wheel leave the car. I do think we will have an interview with Tobias Dauenhauer in a few moments' time in the pit lane, so it'll be great to hear from Tobias. There is the number 22 machine of Justin Kuhns working his way in towards the pit lane now, just to complete the qualifying session. So too is Vladimir Astroitsis. I do think we will have Tobias Dauenhauer in the pit lane in just a few moments' time, but what was a 21-strong car qualifying session really worked out between Tobias Dauenhauer, Vladimir Astroitsis and Martin Dubeck. Those three drivers only separated by less than a quarter of a second. So in a few moments' time, we will head down to the pit lane for an interview with Tobias Dauenhauer, and will also take a really good lap time from himself. Only 7 laps completed from himself, but that was all he needed, of course, with that braking issue. They got it fixed, they sent him out, and he did put it on the front row of the grid.
Thank you, Jack, and welcome race fans to the Hendrix Motorsports pit box. I'm here with your Euro NASCAR 2 pole sitter, Tobias Dauenhauer. Tobias, pretty frantic session. You had it out very late. What was the problem and how did it go?
Oh, it was a tough qualifying for us, for the whole team. We had braking problems. Also, Vittorio had it in his qualifying, and we saw that the brakes in front was completely gone, and we changed the brakes in the front. The team did an amazing job, and I had 2 or 3 laps at the end, and was able to put 2 laps on the circuit and reached P1. So I'm happy. The team, like I said, did an amazing job, and best position for the race, and I'm looking forward.
You're leading the points, clearly entering this weekend. You're starting from the pole. There's a completely different situation from yesterday. What's your mindset for the race?
Yeah, like I said, yesterday also we showed a good performance in the rain, but now it's dry conditions, so new conditions for all of us. And we showed a good pace in qualifying now in these 2 laps, and looking forward to the race. But let's see how it's gone, and I'm happy about it.
Thank you, Tobias.
Thank you.
Back to you, Jack.
Thank you very much. There was Tobias Dauenhauer.
All right.
Very happy chubby with that one.
Thanks, John. Thank you, bro.
NASCAR 2 qualifying session. So that was an interview from Tobias Dauenhauer, and that brings to an end the qualifying session here from Croatia, here at the Automotodrome Grobnik. We will be back later on with some racing action. We've got around about 2 hours and 15 minutes until the next stream goes live, and we have 17 laps, or 18 laps, I do believe, of racing action. A 75-kilometre race for our Euro NASCAR Pro runners. So make sure you join us for that one. I've been Jack Rowell, running you through the action here at qualifying, and I will speak to you around about 2.5 hours for the first race of the 4th meeting of the NASCAR Wheel and Euro Series here at Grobnik in Croatia. Thank you very much.